Hi guys, welcome to section 2.2 and 2.3. We're going to be doing both of them together as one today. Today's lesson is pretty quick and easy. We're going to be reviewing x and y intercepts and slope. All right, so start your warm-up problems and return back for your answer. I'll give you also on number 2, practice the increasing and decreasing intervals again. We just want to have a little bit more practice. So I know it doesn't say to do it, but practice increasing and decreasing on number 2. All right, number 1, you're just plugging in n plus 1 for x, and you should get n plus 6 all over 2n minus 5. Number 2, you got to first find f of 3. So f of 3 is negative 4 because you find the coordinate that has 3 in your x, so 3, negative 4. But again, your answer isn't the coordinate, your answer is the negative 4 part. And then same thing for f of x is equal to 2. There's actually 2 answers for this one. So you could have gotten 1 or 4 was your answer if 2 was y. And then I told you guys, let's practice increasing and decreasing intervals. Like I said, we struggle so much with them because we just don't get a lot of practice in ALEKS with the ones that we ask you on the test. So I want to practice as much as possible. So for the increasing is this line and this line. So increasing would be from, again, we're only looking at the x-axis, so all of these numbers. So it's increasing from negative infinity, and then it stops at 1. And then it starts back up at 3, and then goes to positive infinity. So again, we're going to have the infinities when these lines are going to forever. So for example, the decreasing, as you can see, has an initial start and stop point. So this one tends to be easier for you guys to understand. So this one starts at 1 on the x-axis and ends at 3 on the x-axis. All right. So hopefully you guys are getting those a little bit more down. Number 3, you should get 13 for your first question and negative 13 for your second question. Being very careful with our negative signs and plugging things in with parentheses. All right, so we're going to find an ordered pair that has a solution to the equation. Nice thing about this is that there are infinite answers. Okay, there are a million answers to this question. You just have to be correct, but there are infinite answers. So what do I mean by that? I mean, all they're asking here is to give you or give them a coordinate that solves this problem. So basically all you would have to do is just like pick a number. Let's say we pick 1 for x. So if you say x is 1, then we just have to plug in 1 and then solve to find y, and that would be my second coordinate. Okay, so you could plug in 2, 3, 4. That's why I said it's infinite. You could plug in any number you want to for x, and then you just solve it for y. And I'll give you an even easier number to deal with. Why don't we use 0? Okay, so what I would like to do is set x or y to 0 and solve for the other variable. The one that you should set equal to 0, though, is the one that has the coefficient or bigger coefficient. Okay, so for number 1, the one that has the biggest coefficient is y. So if I just take that out, meaning y is equal to 0, then x is equal to 6. So 6, 0 would solve that problem, hence being a solution to that equation. So 6, 0 could be, it's one of a million bajillion answers. I'm just trying to show you guys the easiest route. So again, let's make the 3x 0. So that means x is going to be 0 because it's the easiest one to cancel out. It gets rid of most of the problem. That's why I do that. So then you're left with negative y equals 5. So y equals negative 5. So 0, negative 5 would be one solution to this equation. Okay, next one. Again, probably x I'll keep as 0. Then this will be negative y equals 1. So y equals negative 1. You could easily just do this how you did it in Algebra 1, just make an XY chart. That's really what this is asking for. You have to plug in whatever numbers you want to for x. and then plug it in to get y. That's all this is asking. All right, so next we're going to deal with finding x and y intercepts. And it kind of goes along with what I kind of just showed you. It was a little bit of a warm-up. So x and y intercepts, the easiest way to find these is to set part of it equal to 0. So when you have an x-intercept means y is equal to 0. When you have a y-intercept, like on a graph, that means your x is equal to 0. So you cover up the opposite letter that you're solving for. So if I'm solving for my x-intercept, we'll do x-intercept first. That means I'm going to take out y, so ignore y, which means it's 0. So then you get 4x equals negative 14. So x equals negative 14 over 4. And we always reduce negative 7/2. And no, we don't do decimals. We do fractions always in higher math. So then you have to write it as a coordinate. I know sometimes on ALEKS it'll accept negative 7/2 as your answer, but on your test you need to write it as a coordinate. So as a coordinate, your x-intercept, like if you're going to plot this intercept on a graph, would be negative 7/2, comma 0. That's your x-intercept. Then your y-intercept, all we do is just do the opposite, meaning we cancel out x instead. So now our equation is negative 9y equals negative 14. So y equals 14 over 9. And then as a coordinate, it would be 0, comma 14 over 9 as my y-intercept. Okay, and then if you were to graph this, for example, I could just graph my x-intercept and my y-intercept and then connect the dots, and I would have a line. So very multiple ways to be graphing equations. All right, number 2. So let's do the x-intercept first, meaning I'm going to cancel out y, so then I'm left with 3x equals negative 15. So x equals negative 5. So my x-intercept is negative 5, comma 0. Then my y-intercept means cancel out x. So I'm left with 2y equals negative 15. So y equals negative 15 over 2. And again, we keep it as that. We do not put it into decimals. So 0, comma negative 15/2 would be my final y-intercept answer. Okay, and here's what a lot of mistakes are going to happen here is that you guys want to combine them for some reason into one point and saying your answer is negative 5, comma negative 15 over 2. That's not what we're asking here, or that's not even the correct answer. So you don't combine them at all. It's two separate answers. You have one answer for x-intercept. You have another answer for the y-intercept. We don't put them all together into one point that doesn't exist. So try number 3 all by yourself and come back for the answer. All right, so you should get your x-intercept being 5/4, comma 0, your y-intercept being 0, comma negative 5/3. And again, to reiterate, we're not combining them into one point. It's two separate answers. All right, and then we're going to continue on what we did started last notes with talking about slope. So all we're going to do is solve this for y equals mx plus b, your favorite form, so slope-intercept form. And then we're just going to tell me what the slope is by looking at the coefficient of x. Okay, so for the first one, we're going to bring over the 3x and the 2, divide everything by 5. And that way my slope is just the number that's in front of the x. So my slope here would be 3 over 5. Number 2, same idea. So we're going to bring over everything besides the y. Divide everything by -3, so make sure you're careful with your signs. And then if we're talking about slope, your slope is a number in front of the x, so -2/3. Okay, so try number 3 all by yourself. Okay, your final answer, or your slope for 3 is -3 over 4. All right, moving on to rewriting a linear equation in the form of standard form. So remember, this is called standard form. You have your ax plus by equals c from last notes. So all you have to do is just make sure it looks like that. So you have to just bring over the x and the y to one side and put the constant on the other side. And then sometimes if you have fractions, like as we can see in number 2, you're going to need to clear fractions. We need this a, b, and c are all integers, meaning they're all whole numbers. So we cannot have any fractions in our answer. Okay, so number 1, all we have to do is just distribute first. And then all we have to do is just bring the x over. I'm going to bring, I'll go slower. -2 equals 2. And then we have to bring the constants all to one side. So 2x plus y equals 4. Again, as long as it has x's and y's on one side and a constant on the other side, your answer is completed. So here's your new equation. So number 2 is mainly what you'd see on a test because there are fractions involved. So we want to clear them immediately. We should be good at clearing fractions by now. So we're going to multiply everything by the denominator, which is 4, to clear it out of the way. So we're going to get 4y equals -x minus 12. And now all I have to do is bring the x over to the y side. And this is my final answer in standard form. If you had left the fraction there and you just brought over the 1/4 x, you would be marked wrong. So make sure you guys are always clearing if you can. So try number 3 all by yourself. All right, your answer there, you got to clear the fractions first. And so you should get x plus 3y equals 15. All right, so now we're going to deal with slope, or I should be saying review slope, because we should all know how to find the slope of an equation, especially given a graph and given 2 points. So given a graph, I think we know we just going to count, right? We're going to count how many times you go up and over. So for example, on this one, you just start at the bottom, and we're going to go up 3 over 4. So that means my slope is 3 over 4. We all know that. But what we're going to give as a formula is a slope formula. So if you remember from Algebra 1, it's y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Okay, some helpful hints, the ones that you're going to see that are like game changers, are if you have a 0 in the numerator. So if you have a 0 in the numerator, 0 divided by anything is 0. Okay, but what does that look like on a graph to have a 0 slope? Because you guys get confused. Is it the horizontal line or is it the vertical line? Well, I have a trick for you. It is the horizontal line. And the way I remember this is that this horizontal line can start the letter Z for 0 slope. Okay, what if the opposite happens? What if we get a 0 in the denominator? So we know as a fraction we can't have 0 in the denominator because that means it's an undefined number. So what does an undefined line look like on a graph? Well, just like how with 0, I can write the letter Z and start writing 0. With a vertical line, I can start writing U for undefined. So that's how I tell the difference between a vertical and horizontal line and the difference between a 0 slope and an undefined slope, because you guys get those ones mixed up quite often. So make sure you guys make the distinction here. All right, so now we're just going to have to use the slope formula to find the slope. This should be review. So remember, you have your x1, y1, x2, y2. We're just subtracting the y is on top and the x is on the bottom. So -7 minus 8 on top and 7 minus 3 on the bottom. So -15/4 would be my slope. And then eventually we're going to learn how to write the equation of this, so we're just warming up for that section. Okay, number 2, you do your x1, x1, y1, x2, y2. So you have -8 minus 6 and -4 minus -4. So you're going to get -14 on top. And on the bottom, it's -4 plus 4, so you get 0, which means this is an undefined slope, which would be a vertical line. Okay? So we're all through there, and then you guys can start your topics on these next two sections, 2.2 and 2.3.